Love, in its truest form, is not an act of conscious will, nor is it simply the result of external attraction or behavioral compatibility. Rather, it is a movement within the depths of the psyche, a confluence of invisible energies, a resonation between two archetypal systems. When a person falls in love, it is rarely with the actual individual in front of them. It is more often than not with an image, a projection of something missing within themselves that they suddenly recognize in another. The emotions that arise are overwhelming, not because of what is objectively there, but because of what is subjectively activated. To understand why people fall in love with you, one must begin not with the outer world, but with the hidden architecture of the unconscious, where shadow and light commingle and where human connection is both mirror and mystery. One of the reasons people fall in love with you lies in the unspoken expression of your inner division. Every human being carries within themselves a fundamental polarity: the conscious self and the unconscious shadow, the persona and the true self, the mask and the soul. Though one may try to present a coherent and acceptable identity to the world, there is always a deeper force moving beneath that facade. This tension between who you appear to be and what you unconsciously carry creates a field of psychological energy that others can feel, even if they cannot articulate it. When someone falls in love with you, it is often not for your completeness, but for your visible struggle with incompleteness. They fall for your brokenness, not because they wish to save you, but because that brokenness resonates with a fracture within themselves that they have not yet dared to face. In your contradictions, they see a reflection of their own. In your tension, they sense a mystery worth approaching. Love then becomes a dialogue between two partial selves, each seeking what it lacks in the other. This is not to say that the beloved is simply a screen for projection, but rather that the beloved becomes a symbol, a carrier of inner contents that the lover has not yet integrated. The psychological charge felt in romantic connection is the charge of recognition, though not always a recognition of the other, but of oneself in the other. This hidden reason why people fall in love with you is deeply tied to the archetype of the shadow. What you repress or do not show consciously is often perceived unconsciously by those around you, and it draws them in like a gravitational pull. They may not understand why they are so magnetically attracted, but what they are responding to is your hidden interior life, the part of you that mirrors the hidden in themselves. There's a curious paradox in this. The more you attempt to suppress or ignore this internal complexity, the more powerful its effect becomes. The psyche does not abide repression without consequence. That which is not lived consciously seeks expression through relationship. Thus, others may find themselves irresistibly drawn to aspects of your personality that you yourself deny or belittle. This is not accidental. The unconscious seeks wholeness, and it does so through the other. It selects partners not with rational calculation, but with symbolic resonance. In this light, the love others feel for you is a message not only about who you are, but about what remains unlived or unseen within you. The very qualities that make you feel vulnerable or uncertain, your emotional depth, your inner conflict, your unacknowledged fears, can become luminous in the eyes of another. For what is repressed becomes romanticized, what is hidden becomes holy. They fall in love with the parts of you that you've exiled, and in doing so, they awaken something dormant in themselves. The second hidden reason people fall in love with you lies in the archetype you unknowingly inhabit. Every person, by virtue of their psychological structure, embodies archetypal patterns, primordial images, and roles that have existed throughout human history. These archetypes are not personal. They are not created by the ego or by the individual life story. They are inherited tendencies deep structures in the collective unconscious, and they shape how others experience your presence. When someone falls in love with you, they may believe they are responding to your unique traits or behaviors, but in truth, they are often responding to the archetype that animates you. You may appear to them as a healer, a wise soul, a lost child, a warrior, a muse. These archetypal identities are not chosen, nor can they be easily manipulated. They arise spontaneously from within and take possession of consciousness in moments of profound emotional significance. For example, one may fall in love with you, not merely because you are kind or intelligent, but because you carry within you the energy of the wounded healer, an archetype that speaks to their own desire for transformation and redemption. Or you may appear as the eternal child, an embodiment of innocence and potential, which resonates with their own longing to return to a time before responsibility and disillusionment. These archetypal projections are powerful, not because they are accurate, but because they tap into deep psychological needs. Love, in this sense, is not an agreement between egos, but a union of symbols, and you, often unknowingly, become the carrier of a symbol that the other has been unconsciously searching for. This symbolic identification creates an intensity that rationality cannot explain. It is why people say, I don't know what it is about you. It is because they are not reacting to your personality in the ordinary sense. They're responding to an inner image that you evoke in them, an image rooted in myth and memory. You become the embodiment of something they have yearned for but could not name. This is not flattery, nor is it illusion. It is the natural working of the unconscious, which seeks meaning through resonance. But such resonance comes at a cost. For while others may fall in love with the archetype you carry, they may also struggle to see you as you are. You become both real and unreal, both yourself and something larger than yourself. And this can lead to misunderstanding, idealization, or disappointment when the archetypal veil begins to lift. Nevertheless, the psychological truth remains. People are drawn to you not only for your qualities, but for what your presence constellates within them. Love begins in the soul before it descends to the senses. What we call chemistry is often the activation of unconscious patterns. The inner child, the animus, the anima, the shadow, these are not poetic concepts, but psychological realities that shape the experience of intimacy. And it is through relationship, through the mirror of the other, that we begin to encounter these dimensions of ourselves. When someone falls in love with you, they are in part being led by their psyche toward a fuller realization of who they are. You are the image that opens a door within them. You are the invitation to begin a journey inward. Thus, to ask why people fall in love with you is to ask what parts of the human soul you unknowingly reveal. You may show resilience that reminds others of their forgotten strength. You may express vulnerability that allows them to touch their own tenderness. You may possess an aura of mystery that awakens their hunger for transcendence. None of these are chosen. They emerge from the depths. And so love becomes not an act of possession, but of participation. To love another is to enter into the mystery of one's own unconscious, reflected in the other. You are not loved merely for what you give or what you do, but for what you awaken. This awakening is not always gentle. To love is also to suffer. For the image that one falls in love with often contains what one has not yet integrated. The lover becomes both a guide and a tormentor. The beloved becomes both a mirror and a mystery. And so love transforms. People fall in love with you because you disturb them. Not always in an obvious way, but in the subtle ways that challenge their complacency, that stir their yearning, that beckon them toward a deeper encounter with life itself. You become in that moment not just a person, but a threshold. Through you they glimpse what might be possible if they dared to step beyond the known. Through you, they are summoned into wholeness. But this summoning is not yours to control. It is not something you choose or create. It is something that happens through you, often despite your conscious intentions. You are loved for reasons you do not understand, because those reasons lie buried in the psyche of another, and yet they are not arbitrary, they are archetypal. They are the language of the soul. In the theater of relationship, we play many roles, but the ones that touch the heart most deeply are those we did not rehearse. They arise spontaneously, out of need and longing, out of darkness and light, and in the eyes of another, you become more than yourself. You become a symbol of possibility. So let us not reduce love to attraction or compatibility. Let us not mistake it for the alignment of interests or the synchronization of lifestyles. Love is not so tame. It erupts, it disturbs, it reveals. When someone falls in love with you, they do so because your being resonates with their becoming. You call them towards something they did not know they needed. You show them something they forgot was missing. And in that encounter, brief or lasting, they begin to remember themselves. You may never fully know why you are loved, and perhaps it is better that way. For love, in its deepest form, is not meant to be understood. It is meant to be lived, to be suffered, to be transformed. But the reasons others fall in love with you are buried in layers of psyche and symbol, in dreams and projections, in the architecture of myth. You are the carrier of something larger than yourself. You are not only the person they meet, you are the image that awakens. And so you become beloved, not for being perfect, but for being human in a way that touches the divine in them. You are loved not for what you have, but for what you hold within, the shadow you wrestle with, the archetype you embody. These are the hidden reasons. And in the unfolding of relationship, these reasons become revelations. In you, they see a map to themselves, and in loving you, they begin, however faintly, to love the mystery of their own soul.